Gather around the table once again for another session of Dungeons and Drakfus, and today we take on the actual raid that is patch 4.2, the Fireland, Rage of the Firelands, as we take on the Firelands themselves and dethrone the Fire Lord Ragnaros. So, earlier on this week, you saw us take on the Call of the World Shaman questline that also happened during this patch, as well as establish the Molten Front. And we're not technically done with that yet. We're going to be doing the ending quests that establish another character within this story that I think you guys will all be interested in. But it's time for us to finally tackle the raid itself. So we'll tackle that other story later, but we're going to go ahead and take on Firelands 25-man heroic. The reason we're doing 25-man heroic is not necessarily because there's a bonus boss. There is a bonus phase with the final boss, as well as a chance for a mount. So let's go ahead and go over the lore really quick before we step into the Firelands. And also attached below, like I said I was going to do with Call of the World Shaman, I'll also do it here, is the trailer for Rage of the Firelands, patch 4.2. So here's the lore. The Firelands is the molten domain forged by the Titans to house Ragnaros and his wayward minions. Following Deathwing's emergence into Azeroth, Ragnaros and his servants surged onto the slopes of Mount Hyjal before being driven back by the Sacred Mountain's valiant defenders. Now Ragnaros is rallying his loyalists to defend the Firelands from Azeroth's champions. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this by stepping into Sulfuron Spire, aka the Firelands. Now, this is a 7-boss raid, and this was the middle kind of raid in Cataclysm, so if you were done with tier 11 content, this was tier 12. And technically, you do have some Adventures of Hyjal Quartermasters and Crystallized Firestones, which you would collect in here for crafting resources. And this Quartermaster is also with gear that you could actually get when you were running this. Since they knew it was going to be going on for a while, they put a reputation faction in here so that you could eventually purchase better gear. And it was well worth it. So, here we are in the Firelands. Now, technically, there is another quest that can be done here, but a lot of people have already done it. It is the quest to get Dragonwrath Terragos's Rest, the legendary that came out around this time. And I'll probably also link the quest there, so if you guys want to see that, you can. Basically, it's a quest involving the Blue Dragonflight and the establishment of Kalagos as the new... oh, crap. The new aspect of the Blue Dragonflight, so you guys can check that out. But here is the Firelands, as obviously it is packed to the brim with a bunch of nasties, so we'll go ahead and start clearing them out. And the reason we want to do that is one of the bosses is actually locked behind the enemies here. You have to kill off enough of the enemies in the main area for the boss Shanox to appear. We're not going to worry about taking on Shanox just yet, but we're going to clear out as much of the trash out here as we possibly can on our way to the first boss that we'll be tackling. The other cool part about this is that, as you can see, the area is pretty open. The first 5 bosses you could take on in whatever order you wanted, but the last 2 had to be done in an order. So that's what we're basically doing. This is kind of the order that people would take this instance on. Oh, look at that. As the creatures of the Firelands fall, a huntsman's horn sounds in the distance. Okay. That doesn't sound very good, but let's go ahead and go past the Molten Fields into this rocky, maze-looking place that is the Lair of Bethtalak. The first boss we'll be taking on in the Firelands. And one of the coolest, in my opinion, because it is basically a fiery spider. And anytime you can use those Nerubian models, you should, Blizzard. I love the Nerubian models to death, honestly. I really do. I love them. Okay, so let's try and clear these guys out. And you can also see the Firehawk model that a lot of the mounts in this patch were based off of. So it looks a lot like Elisrazor, although Elisrazor is a little bit more armored than that. But those are kind of the mounts that you were going to get out of Firelands, was these Firehawks. Which are cool looking, don't get me wrong. I'm just not much of a mount collector, so yeah, it was going to be a sell for me. And in fact, I have a bit of a confession here, as some people actually... I've known a lot of Cataclysm raiders who are beloved of the Firelands, love what it actually did for raiding. I'm on the opposite. I hated Firelands. Firelands was cool in its first month or so, but we're talking a raid that was the prime level of progression and raiding for the better part of, I want to say, 6 months to a year, maybe. It was a long time, and I might even be exaggerating that, but it felt like murder to me. I got so sick and tired of seeing the exact same area over and 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 over again as I was raid leading at the time, and I wanted something new. And so for all the people who hate Dragon Soul, I was happy when Dragon Soul came around because I was sick and tired of looking at all of this red, all of this orange, all of this fire. It drove me nuts, but that's beside the point because we are here at the first boss, Beth-Talak. So let's go ahead and read into her lore. Matriarch of the Cinderweb brood, Beth-Talak and her merciless offspring sate their appetites by sucking the magma and fire from the corpses of elementals. To provide her broodlings with added sustenance, Beth-Talak has woven a network of incendiary webs throughout her lair to trap unsuspecting prey. Okay, so this was actually really cool for tanks, as you actually had to go up into the web to tank her while your raid team dealt with all of the other aspects of this fight, including the ads. We don't have to worry about that too much because we're going to actually be going up there to do as much damage as we can to bring her down. There we go. So all you got to do is just click this rope and you can go on up. Whee! And now we're taking care of Beth-Talak herself. Boom! And that should be more than enough damage. There we go. So all you gotta do is do enough damage to her, and then she goes right back down to the ground and dies. But you get the achievement, Death from Above. And since this is heroic, we actually would get a tier piece from almost every boss here, so that's awesome. Let's go ahead and check out what she has. You can also get the Cinderweb egg. So if you want that, is there anything in here that I don't have transmog? No. And then here's the crystallized firestone. So that would be for like crafting materials, should you need them. So there you go. One boss down of 7. Again, like, you know, I get the hatred that a lot of people had for tier 11 content, but at least that was 3 separate areas. All with different themes. One was a Twilight Citadel. One was inspired at the very least by Blackwing Lair. So it was another Blackrock Mountain dungeon, and so it had its own lore, it had its own surroundings, etc., etc. And then you had one based in the element of air. Here, it was fire and lava and more fire the entire time. Yeah, I'm never gonna get off my high horse on that one. I even dealt with it during my raid team. I was like, how can you not like Firelands? I'm sick of looking at it. This is Molten Core on steroids. You know, at least Molten Core is a molten cave, and I get what that is. This is just fire and molten and lava and everything like that. And now I kind of get why people were so pissed off at Molten Core. Because I had to do it. Firelands. Oh. The Firelands does not know my rage. Let's see, Riplin's Lost Collar. No, I already have that, so boom, let's keep on going. As we kill more and more crap as we go along. We're gonna kill as many of these groups as we can because we eventually need to unlock Shanox. Oh, and a Flamewaker Overseer. We'll go ahead and take care of him too, as we make our way to the second boss, Lord Rylith. Like I said, you can do these in whatever order, but this is the order that I'm so used to doing it in. The hunting horn sounds again, nearer and more urgently. So that's kind of your second warning that you're really close to summoning Shanox. So at that point, you might want to be a little bit more careful. There we go. But I'm not going to be careful. Why do I need to be careful? Let's go ahead and summon this guy. Oh, and that wasn't even enough. Okay, well, we'll have to wait on that in a second. Because we're going to head up and take care of Lord Rylith. So all you got to do is just pass this gauntlet of fire elementals. Don't even worry about them, because your main target is going to be Kar the Ever-Burning. Oh no, he's retreating and calling for protection of his allies. So he's basically a little mini-boss before Rylith. And just so that we don't have to deal with these guys later, we'll go ahead and take care of them. This was the one particular gauntlet that any DPS in my raid loved, because this was where they actually did a little bit of a race to see, you know, who was actually doing what. And since I had Warlocks, the Warlocks usually won. So here is Lord Rylith. People might remember him from the Molten Front storyline. Yes, he actually came out and attacked, and you got to see him first things first, but he was actually one of the first reveals of Firelands as well. And you got to see Malorn take care of him. But let's go ahead and go into his lore before we take him down. Lord Rylith. Rylith is one of the most ancient elementals in existence, born from the primordial fires that forged Azeroth itself. He is responsible for the creation of new elementals in the Firelands, and still possesses a searing hatred of the Titans for what he considers monumental arrogance in relocating him. And the cool part is that this is basically just his armor. So this is a boss that a lot of people in Firelands hated, especially on heroic mode back when it was hard, because you basically had to hit his feet to navigate him. We don't have to worry about that, but it was a pain in the butt to try and figure it out, and you always wanted to assign that one DPS who knew what the crap they were doing, because if he actually got to the lava and ate the lava, it would basically nuke your party. It would nuke the raid, you couldn't survive it. It's kind of that easy in rage. There we go. I don't want to succumb to Living Flame. I never have wanted to succumb to Living Flame. All you got to do is get him down to 20%, and then he goes into his phase 2, where he sheds his armor and nukes you into oblivion, unless you kill him fast. Now you will burn. Okay, so we have... I know my money. Yeah, there you go. Anything else we need? No. I've done Firelands quite a bit, so I wouldn't be surprised if I had pretty much every transmog piece out of this godforsaken place. Alright, moving on into the next boss. Now we're going to get into some stuff that's more lore-intensive and familiar. As we move on to Elisrazor. Now, if people remember from the Molten Front video, we confronted the dragon Elisra after she basically used us to free Fandral Staghound. I was about to say Chandras, and that doesn't make sense. Yeah, she basically used us to free...
I smelled them too, Riplim. Outsiders encroach on the Fire Lord's private grounds. Find their trail. Find them for me, that I may dispense punishment.
And actually, we're going to hold off on Elisrazor. But yeah, people might remember from the Molten Front quest, we confronted the Green Dragon Elisra on basically her using us to free Fandral Staghelm. And we killed her because of her accusations, but later on, the Druids of the Flame came down and bestowed new fiery life upon her and created Elisrazor, a devilish firehawk. So we'll take her on in a second, but first let's go into the lore of Shanox, as he's going to be making his way pretty soon. The Flame Walkers are among the most feared elemental guardians in the Firelands. Shanox is no exception, serving as the chief hunter and kennel master of the Ragnaros' hellhounds. Shanox patrols the elemental realm with his two most ferocious beasts, Riplim and Rageface. Love the names, by the way. And you can actually see Shanox off in the distance. We're going to take care of Rageface first, because he's the nastier of the two. Basically, what he would do is randomly target one of your DPS and just eat their face, basically. He'd unleash a lot of crap on them, and either they would die, or your other DPS would do enough damage to him that he would let go and resume his attack on the tanks. But that's Shanox's job. As soon as you kill enough minions, then he just starts patrolling this path in the Firelands, and you can take him on. He's almost here, so we're going to take out his doggies, and then we'll take him out. Not too hard, and then we'll bounce over to Elisrazor, who we're really close to. So, come on, buddy. I know you're coming. Should I come to you? Yeah, I should probably just come to you. Let's make sure you get past the bridge first. Okay, so here is Shanox. Oh my goodness, yay!
The interlopers.
Oh, that's right. In heroic, you can't kill him. There we go. Face of fury! There you go.
The pain. Lord of Fire. It hurts.
I'm glad you're enjoying yourself there, Shanox. And here's some of the tokens for tears. And nope, we don't have anything. I'm not gonna worry about tears here because I'm a monk. I don't have them. The monk came in Miss Pandaria. Oh crap! What the hell? Did I have a dot or something? There you go. So all you got to do is just come up to here where these blazing monstrosities are, and this is where you will deal with the Druids of the Flame and their new minion, Alisrazor. So kill off these Druids of the Flame. And just to make things even more simple, boom. Now this would actually be a little bit difficult as you had to take your DPS and use these Firehawks as turrets, basically, to kill off the eggs. Otherwise, you would have a nasty job ahead of you of having to take care of all this crap yourself. But obviously, I'm going to do that because, well, I have nothing better to do. There we go. Boom. And up ahead, you can actually see Major Domo Fandral Staghelm, as he has a bunch of Druids of the Talon captured. So we will go ahead and take him on. How dare you do that, Fandral? How dare you?
What have we here? Visitors to our kingdom, the Firelands mortals may remember Alisra, who spirited me to freedom in Mount Hyjal. She too has been reborn. Born of flame!
So as you can see, he kills off all the druids as an offering, and eventually...
I wish I could watch her reduce your pitiful band to cinders, but I am needed elsewhere. Farewell!
Bastard. Mountain bursts up, and here comes Alisra.
I serve a new master now,
And
mortal.
technically, we're in the fight right now, so we're just going to go ahead and take care of her, and then we'll read the lore. So, boom. Come on. We got to do as much damage to her as we possibly can. And also grab these feathers. Oh. Now, technically, you need to not grab... Well, you need to grab these back in the day. This is how you did damage to her. This is why she was called kind of the Star Fox boss, is you had to fly through rings to keep yourself going. Okay, well, come on. Come on. I got you. Oh no, fiery lava worms are erupting from the ground. It's almost like we don't care about that. Boom, she's dead. All right, let's go ahead and loot her really quick. And she actually had a mount drop too, but it doesn't look like we got it. It's more of a ground mount, so nothing major. But I love that we get the full-on Firelands theme as we fight her. So let's go ahead and go over Alisrazor's lore. When Ragnaros' forces surged into Mount Hyjal, the greed dragon Alisra betrayed her allies and helped liberate the traitorous Archdruid Fandral Staghelm. As a reward, she was purified with fire and reborn as a fearsome firehawk. And yeah, you actually could get a... Basically, it was a reskin of the Ravenlord mount, but all fiery. So it's just a ground mount only. But that is 4 of the 7 bosses. So there's 1 left in this open area. And he's like, you could take him on in whatever order, but he is right here, and he is the gatekeeper for the final 2. Ah, crap. I think we just engaged this event. Yep, we did. Let's go ahead and take care of this then. I'm gonna get this guy, aren't I? Dang it. Yeah, this is gonna happen. Boom. Did I get this guy? Yes, I did. Run before me! I don't even care. Sneak in here, and you can see Balrog. So this model has been used later on in Warlords of Draenor and a couple of other places where it's like a Fellfire elemental. But This was the original that did it. Excuse me. Here we go. Crackling Jade Lightning. Let's go ahead and clear out all of his ads. Let's go ahead and grab them all. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and read over the lore of Balrog before we make our way to Sulfuron Keep, where Ragnaros lies. So, Balrog, the Gatekeeper. Balrog earned a reputation as a merciless combatant during the elemental wars of ancient Azeroth. Now he is confined to the Firelands. Balrog's sanity has dwindled. Few elementals dare disturb him, fearful that they will become victim to his battle lust. And this one was kind of a difficult one for the tanks. I remember that Paladins had no issue with this one, but Druids kind of didn't have an issue. Warriors, I remember, Warriors or Death Knights, one of the two had a lot of issues with this guy. But you guys won't know that because we will nuke this guy down really fast. Oh. Am I forbidden? Am I really? Have fun with that. Have fun enforcing that for me. 7%. Oh no, we're taking stacks of damage. Oh no. And boom, share the pain.
The Master's keep is forbidden.
Okay, nothing additional, but we have taken care of all of the 5 bosses.
Well, I admire your tenacity. Balrog stood guard over this keep for 1,000 mortal lifetimes. But none may enter the Fire Lord's abode!
Well, we're about to, because all you have to do is use this magma orb. And you pick up the orb and shake it vigorously.
For mercy now, and I may yet allow you to live. Well, heroes, what is your answer?
I choose to pick up the orb. And that's cool your first time seeing it. Not your 10th. Not your 20th. Not your 50th. And certainly not your 100th. Which a lot of people, including myself, did this that many times. Alright, so cross the bridge. Or the Sulfuron Span, and now we are at Sulfuron Keep. Like I said, the first 5 are optional. You can take them on in whatever order you want, but the last 2 have an order. Because now we're going to be taking on Major Domo Staghelm as he guards the gate to his fiery master. But first we have to take care of his Druids of the Flame, who are kind of a brief look into what he actually can do. No. These guys are so hard, can you tell?
Very well.
There we go.
Witness the raw power of my new lord.
I don't think I will. All right, let's go ahead and go over the lore of Major Domo Fandral Staghelm, which I actually will put a lore tidbit in the description below too. The loss of his son Valstan in the War of the Shifting Sands utterly shattered Fandral Staghelm's spirit. Now empowered by Ragnaros as the new Major Domo of the Firelands, replacing the deceased Major Domo Executus and the leader of the treacherous Druids of the Flame, Fandral seeks to bring ruin to Azeroth rather than live in a world without his beloved child. Alright, so, and on top of that, you also do have some lore with the Druids of the Flame. You guys will see that soon, but let's go ahead and take this guy on. Now, this guy actually did have a very interesting item that would drop. I'm not gonna worry too much about that. Hey, look, he plugged the title. Oh, that was nice of you, wasn't it, Fandral? Mr. Fury! Or 50%. Okay, let's go ahead and get out of the fire. We're at 40%. Boom! I promise, guys, I can do a lot of damage, but unfortunately, he just has a really high health pool. Boom!
Only just
And did we get it? Yes, we did. So this is Fandrel's Flame Scythe. I don't believe it has the effect anymore, but feral druids back in the day, if they were wearing this, they became a fiery kitty, just like he does. It would have actually been really cool if the bear form was true too, because he actually becomes like a fiery scorpion. But no, it didn't happen. Such a disappointment too. And actually, the Flame Scythe isn't bad looking, but a lot of people just wanted it for the fiery cat that they could get out of it. Now I think there's just a glyph to be able to do it. So now we've taken care of 6 of the 7 bosses. It's time for the Fire Lord himself. So we must step into Sulfuron Keep to take the guy on. Whee! And this is more of a room fitting of the Fire Lord himself. But first we have to go through this lava wielder and a little bit of booby traps that Ragnaros has put in this room just in case adventurers might make their way to him. There we go. So I'll actually stay up here so you guys can check this out. But as you step down the stairs, oh, look at that. Look at that. There's a big fiery model.
Insects, you dare trespass into my domain? Your arrogance will be purged in living flame.
So this is kind of the reason why we are doing this heroic 25-man. You can do this heroic 10-man as well. But what basically happens is if you take this guy on normally at about 30%, Ragnaros will retreat and just say, too soon, you can't kill him. The only way that you can kill him is by doing it on heroic, where you unlock his final phase, or as a lot of people like to call it, the leg phase, where he actually does spawn legs and he follows you around trying to kill you. And it's a lot more difficult than people would like to think it was, or that people kind of give it credit for. I remember watching like the high-end raid teams take care of this in a competition at BlizzCon, and it was pretty freaking nasty back then. So there you go. That's the difference here. If you don't take this on in normal, you get to 30% and he retreats. You have to kill him in heroic, and that's how you get the additional footage that you would get. So here we go. Let's take on the Fire Lord. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about that too much. Splitting blow! Oh no! And here's actually kind of a big nuke that would happen to your team. If any of these Sons of Flame actually got to the hammer, this would nuke your raid. It would be a lot of fire damage coming in. Is it now? Is it? So let's just go ahead and do Sulfurous Smash. Engage the second splitting blow. I'm going to try and engage the phase here. I don't know if it's going to work out, but we're going to see. Because obviously this guy isn't doing any damage to me anymore. Oh, and here's a Lava Scion. Die. Take care of these guys. Oh no. And boom. I would be dead right now. Big tanks could like take 2 of them. And they were done after that. Okay, 14%. Don't want to do too much more damage to him. Oh, actually, no. I think we have to kill him. Or at least get him to 10%, and then... There we go, 0.8. Okay, there we go. So now Cenarius joins us. Oh, no, he tried to retreat.
Your time is now.
And basically they just yank him out and say, nope, you ain't doing that. Come back out here, mother effer. And you have to face him again at about 50%.
Outsiders, this is not your realm.
Heroes, he is bound. Finish him.
I finish this.
Oh, look at them legs.
The world will burn with my vengeance.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take him out. As this is kind of the time to finish him as it gets really hot throughout this phase. Boom! There you go.
No, this was to be my hour of triumph.
It is finished, then. Perhaps. Heroes,
The world owes you a great debt.
Ragnaros has perished. The primal powers he represents can never be vanquished. Another will rise to power someday.
Yes, Cenarius. We must maintain a constant vigil over this realm. But let us celebrate this day and the great victory we have earned here.
Now, we're technically doing this out of order, so you can see Cenarius as a model, and then they're also using the Legion model for Malfurion. But hey, Hamel Rune Totem! We're doing this kind of out of order, but eventually what would happen in the Molten Front questline is you would be able to reunite with Hamel to take care of Layara, the person who actually did this damage to him, and he just kind of takes on this model in the meantime until later expansions where they gave him a different one. So there you go. That's why if you're feeling spoiled, that's why he's there. But a lot of people who didn't do all that with the Molten Front, like the hardcore raid teams, already knew that he was going to be okay. Because you got to see this. Let's see here. Did we get the mount? It doesn't look like we did. Aw, that's too bad. That's just too bad. Okay, well, that's it for the Firelands. So we actually... Oh, and we forgot to read the lore for Ragnaros, but you guys kind of know it, and if not, I'll go ahead and link the video. Ragnaros, Lord of the Firelands, embodies the fury and destruction of the primordial infernos that forged Azeroth itself. Promised the chance to set Azeroth aflame without the I can't talk for some reason. Promised the chance to set Azeroth aflame without interference from Neptulon and Therazane. Ragnaros seeks to appease the old gods by incinerating the world tree of Nordrassil. And with that, he has been taken care of, and we actually do know in lore now that there is a brand spanking new Fire Lord in action, and the shamans in Legion actually help him rise to power. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this raid, so I hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for your continued love, patience, and support. And as we come back next week, we won't have the Liara stuff done by then, I don't think. But next week, we will just move on. We'll take care of Liara another day. But we'll go into the next patch, as patch 4.3 deals with the dreaded moment called the Hour of Twilight. We'll see you guys then.